Welcome back to AkamaiTV. I'm Campbell Foster, joined here by David Springall, CTO of YoSpace. Great to have you on the show.
Yeah, good to
So tell me a little bit about YoSpace, history of the company. Did you always start as dynamic ad insertion? What do you guys do today? Where did the name come from?
Well, we were founded in '99, so way before OTT streaming was ever a thing. At the time, where the name comes from, my business partner, his name is Bruce, he wanted to, the idea of the company was actually to create digital lockers for the mobile space. And we wanted to have something that had something with the word space in it. And we thought MySpace, we thought that was available, the .com was available then. We thought that sounded a bit too obvious, so we went for YoSpace.
Okay.
Fast forward through to 2007, where we were acquired by a broadcast company called, a media company called EMAP, which then was acquired by Bauer. We had established ourselves as user-generated, a consumer-facing user-generated service. And part of being part of the EMAP business, we realized that more and more companies would be wanting to get content online, and we sort of engineered our system to allow that to be made a lot easier. And we actually exited the business as an MBO did in 2009, and from that point on, we've been executing very much on dynamic ad insertion.
In the ad insertion space,
yeah.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about client side versus server side. Some people are doctrinaire and really only say you got to do server side. Some people are, oh, no, you have to do everything on the client. Maybe the truth is somewhere in between, but I'd love to hear your perspective on the client side versus server side debate.
Yes, well, from my perspective, most of my conversations are being had with broadcasters that have already probably made that leap, but into server-side ad insertion. And I think one of the biggest drivers for them, or two big drivers, is in the case of live ad insertion, it's the user experience, it's the seamless and frame-accurate insertion. And for others, it's actually, there's an architectural benefit for server-side. And that is, it puts a piece of middleware between the devices that are in the user's hands and the ad tech ecosystem, and that middleware acts as control, allows you to filter and deal with compliance issues, and also deals with the fact that broadcasters are finding that there are more and more devices that that users or consumers are sort of requiring streams to be available on, and that's creating an engineering maintenance problem.
Right.
And the less you can put into an application or an end user device, the quicker you can move. If you can put more of that into the network, more of that intelligence into the network, you can move more quickly, and also that abstraction that I was talking about that comes from middleware. So I think that's the main proponents. The proponents for SSI will usually use those points. Client side, there are certain things that you have to do in server side that requires you to scale. So it potentially is cheaper to implement a client-side solution, but you still have to do the
for bandwidth.
Yeah. You have to, you have to consider. You can do a lot of stuff in the client, which you would have to have done on the server. So, but the problem is at some point that client-side system is going to have to interact with the server-side system, the ad tech ecosystem. So actually you're just pushing the problem.
So the ad call is going out to the ad server anyway.
And it's very difficult to do the things that we can do in server side, which is to distribute the ad calls, to not inundate the ad tech ecosystem. So I think that client side kind of just pushes the problem out, and when you get to extreme scale, you will face these problems with client side, but you have a much better chance of solving them with server side.
And do you find that the broadcasters or the media sellers sort of broadly are using a broad range of different ad partners? So they've got the ad server, they've got a programmatic, they've got an exchange, they've got a lot of different, they've got an analytics system, they've got all these different pieces sort of in their stack. Is that something you guys come up against?
Yes, that is. I mean, I think that it varies between territory and territory. I think in the US, there is a lot of programmatic fill with not just one network doing the fulfillment, multiple networks vying alongside each other with a first-party ad server, and the analytics platforms or the validation platforms such as Comscore and Nielsen, all into the mix. Outside of the US, in the UK, it's much more first-party, with programmatic being sort of more of an experiment, but for private marketplace. In Australia, it's a bit of a balance between the two, and Japan is more first-party at this stage. So I think that broadcasters that are planning for any type of ad insertion have got to expect an evolution from where the current market is to where it's going. I think the US is probably, there's too much fragmentation. I think there might be consolidation, and in say the UK there'll be more migration to more programmatic, even if it's privately traded. Now, the middleware story, the middleware piece with server side gives you much better future proofing to the evolution of that, because you've disconnected the ad tech ecosystem from your real estate in your devices.
Got it. Well, along those lines, I was wondering if you could offer some best practices or tips for broadcasters who are dipping their toes in the dynamic ad insertion world. People are sort of experimenting. What are some things that you would recommend? And what are some things that they should avoid in terms of their workflow or configuration? Yeah,
well, I think the first thing that I would advise any broadcaster looking to do ad insertion in general, whether it's at server side or client side, would be to ensure that the right stakeholders are involved in the design phase right at the start of the project. And by that I mean that ad insertion is a genuinely coming together of two different disciplines. One is delivery of video, that's quality of experience, and monetization. So there's no point having a fantastic user experience if your monetization efficiency is way too low. And equally, a fantastically efficient monetization solution that breaks the user experience is something that is clearly not going to be a tenable solution. So the broadcast engineers, the streaming engineers, the analytics teams, the ad operations teams, the ad architecture, and all need to come together to come up with a tactical and a strategic approach to the challenges of today and the future.
Okay, got it. So it's sort of getting broadcast engineering, ad ops, video ops, the player guys, it's getting sort of internal wrangling at these companies, getting them sort of all on the same page.
That's right, and there will be fights between the ad teams that want V-paid content, for example, executable content to run because that's where all the ad creatives are at the moment. And they're the QoE team saying you're not going to run.
You can't do that.
Yeah, or the security team saying, well, we don't want arbitrary executable code running inside our real estate.
Well, who's doing it right today, and who's doing it really at scale? Who's gone from the experimentation phase to the doing it in the World Cup, or doing it in the Olympics, or really doing DAI at true global scale?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we've got examples in the UK where ITV, we actually were up for a IBC Innovation Award in 2012 with ITV, having done a proof of concept with them, and they've launched in about 2014, and they are, they have been sort of at the forefront in working very closely with their ad ops team and their QoE teams to ensure they've got really efficient monetization, they've got great quality of experience, and they're a company that is entirely around live production. So this is a great sort of case study. They, their stated goal is to get ad insertion, replaceable ads across all devices, regardless of whether it's broadcast, it's connected TV devices. I think that's a really interesting case study. You've got Medialan in Belgium, which is a relatively small operator being in Belgium, but doing some really interesting, innovative things by having targeted ads, allowing them to shorten the broadcast ad breaks. They've found that a lot of their customers are engaging with live content by using sort of like the restart or start over, just slightly time offset. But because we're doing that, we can actually contract the ad break. So take the 3-minute broadcast ad break, turn it into an online 1-minute ad break. And in fact, we're up for a IBC Innovation Award this year show for that project.
Oh, that's fantastic. So IBC 2018, are you announcing anything, either partnerships, new technology? Sort of what are you excited about here?
So something that we're demonstrating on our stand, which is G14, Hall 14, is a partnership with a company called Capella Systems. They provide an encoding solution with an orchestration layer called Broadcast Manager. And on top of that, they've built something called Cambria Live Ad Break Control. And what this is a control panel that allows you to monitor live feeds, multiple live feeds in real time, and manually insert ads into those streams, or put the cue markers in. Now this is important because we're seeing more and more broadcasters are getting rights to sporting events where they have multiple feeds, and only one of them is going through their broadcast head end. And the others are kind of available, but they can't monetize them very easily. They have to build their own sort of digital-only broadcast playout for these channels. So by working with Capella, we've kind of productized that into a single platform that will contribute straight into Media Services Live. It's got native support for that. It's also got native support for our prefetching capability, which is the idea that you can queue before an ad break actually occurs, the fetching
anticipating it.
The fetching of the ads from the ad
and this is for live, where you know the ad is coming, but you just don't know when, right?
Exactly. And then they've also integrated that with our live telemetry interface, which gives the user interface a real-time view as to who's watching the stream. So you can concentrate on inserting the ads to the channels where actually people are watching.
Okay, got it. So final words, final thoughts. Where's this all going? What are you most excited about, and where's YoSpace going?
Well, I think that, from a macro industry trend, there's two big things. One we're seeing is that all of our broadcasters are saying we're breaking records every year. So scale is going to be the big topic. And the second one is the scale with respect to ad selling. So the head towards programmatic, but the head towards a programmatic that works for everyone in the ecosystem. And so that's not just getting the creative, it's ensuring the creative is secure, the chain of custody through which that creative has come has been traceable, ensuring privacy, audience protection against the broadcaster's first-party data. We can't understate the importance of that first-party data and the need to secure it.
Yeah.
So, and those two things, the scale and the programmatic, are two opposing industry trends that need some really quite intelligent industry-wide initiatives to solve.
Okay. Well, thanks for joining me, David Springall, CTO of YoSpace. Next up, we're going to have Andy Burnett from ITV, who we just talked about. Really excited about that. So stay tuned. Thanks for joining.